Great run-up for the Nikkei since the beginning of June here. What's been behind it?
Well, it seems to be the Japanese economy is comparatively good compared to the other three continents, where Euro has its structural problems with a single monetary policy, where they cannot have the united fiscal policy, and they also face the debt issue by the stress test in European banks. And then we look into the American continent. The United States has a debt crunch, government fund raising issues, may lead to the downgrade of the United States itself. And when you look into the Asia continent, mostly emerging markets, they have a slowdown in the economy and suffering from the inflationary pressures. So in comparison-wise, Japan is in a rather good situation. Although we have this power shortage issue and strong yen, it seems to be we are having a quick recovery from the aftermath of the earthquake and tsunami, especially when we can expect the public spending to assist the recoveries.
Sakurai-san, when you mentioned, of course, the two headwinds that the country is facing, a power supply, well, we've got power shortages there in many parts of, well, around the area of Tokyo and elsewhere too. And then we've got the strength of the yen, which, well, seemingly is unrelenting. Now, how much of that has been priced in to the Nikkei now?
Right. I don't think actually the market participants actually know how strong the against wind is. I said that the comparatively good position in Japan is for, let's say, for 6 months or maybe a year or so. After that, we're not quite sure. Maybe some of these manufacturers may decide to move their plants overseas where they don't have to suffer from earthquake and also from the strong yen. But we are not quite sure at this moment, and we cannot discount that fact actually to the numbers at this moment.
Sakurai-san, tell me, but we mentioned those two headwinds. We've got another one, of course, here. And when you mentioned Europe and you mentioned the United States, you're talking about debt issues and debt concerns. Well, Japan has its own debt burden. It doesn't seem to have the political will to deal with that either.
That's true. It's well, the big issue is that the big difference with the United States and Europe is that the Japanese private sector has quite a lot of money, quite a lot of cash in hands, whereas the government sector is short of money. It's just like the husband is short of money and borrowing from the rich wife, whereas the United States has a shortage of money in itself. So I think it's a kind of differences. So whereas the Japanese institutional investors are still willing to buy the Japanese government bonds because they see some risk in the overseas equities.
Right. Let's just talk a little bit about the equities, though, themselves. We've seen this run-up since June. How can we sustain it? What do you have your target as at the end of the year for the Nikkei? Right.
I think most of the market participants is looking for 11,000 or so for the, let's say, next half year or so. Obviously, not forecasting the much more shortage of the powers, a more strong yen. If the yen stays around this level, and if we can sustain the power shortage at this level, then I think we can more than 11,000 or so, or maybe plus, could be foreseeable. But as I said again, these two strong forwards.
Sakurai-san, what are you buying at the moment?
Well, I think the construction sector is also okay. The car manufacturing is doing quite good, like Nissan is doing very well. Some of the companies are recovering from these aftermath of the earthquake. These companies, I think, going to perform very well.